What is up, you guys? I'm laughing at myself because of how I look right now. Here's what's been going on. I have filmed maybe 4 different videos that I just have not edited, have not put out, or ones that I filmed and then hated. So essentially what's been going on, it is 10:21 p.m. My boyfriend should be getting home from work at some point soon. Whatever. So I look like this right now because I've been laying down because I have felt sick all day. I got out my Nexplanon. You can see, you can see the bruising. You can't really tell because the incision over here is so small. That's just a freckle. But I got my Nexplanon out. Now Nexplanon, if you're unaware, is just a type of birth control that they put in your arm. It's maybe like that big, super small. I had it for just under 6 months. Now, if you know anything about the Nexplanon, you know that they want you to keep it in for at least 6 months because that's how long it usually takes to adjust. Well, I had almost every single side effect in the book, so it was not working for me. I had a lot of issues. Let me backtrack. When I first started talking about the Nexplanon, it was because I was on the pill. So I was actually on 2 kinds of pills before I hit the Nexplanon. And the first pill I was on was called Trinessa. And that was one that had estrogen in it. And my body did not react well to it, and I was on it for maybe a couple years. I gained so much weight very quickly. And I ended up getting off that pill and going on to one that just had progesterone. I forget how to say it. And I lost all the weight and it worked out fine. Until, I don't know what happened, but there was like one day where I just didn't take it and didn't realize it. I assumed that I was super tired. Because there's one day that I just didn't take it and I didn't realize it. And then I was just taking it normally throughout the next couple days, and then I realized eventually I was a day behind, but I didn't know for how long. So, and I started having really bad like period symptoms, and a lot of it was the cramping, the headaches, the back pain that comes with the cramping, and it would make me sick. I ended up spiking a fever during one of it, and my period was just heavier than it has ever been, and it was really bad. But what I did was I went to my doctor and I was like, hey, help. And she essentially told me that my body just was not responding to the pill anymore because I had messed it up for so many days, because at that point it was too far ahead, and because I didn't know how long I had messed it up for, my body just wouldn't respond to it. Real quick, while I'm editing this video, I first of all, I look a little different, but while editing this video, it's the next day, I wanted to say that at this part, that also at the same time she had done an exam, and she actually found 2 different infections that I had, that she has no idea how I got them, and I had 0 symptoms, and she only found them through the vaginal swab. So I also at the same time had other stuff going on, and I had a moderately inflamed uterus. She still has no idea why. And to this day, I still never got an answer, and she still has no idea. But me personally, when I looked stuff up, some of the like things that were part of one of the infections, well, actually one of the infections in general, was a side effect of the Nexplanon. So that kind of made me think that that's where I got it from, because I'm healthy, I'm clean, you know. Obviously that's not saying that if you do get those infections that you're not clean, but there was just no like true reason why it should have happened. So we did a couple different options. We talked about the Nexplanon implant, we talked about the IUD, and we talked about the depot shot. right away the depot shot was not even an option for me because of there's a high chance of the weight gain. And the IUD I was scared of because of, you know, the horror stories that you hear about it falling out, like it expelling and or I know what the term is. It's just I'm so out of it right now. But and like how much it hurts when it goes in and all that. Like some women say, oh yeah, it's just a lot of cramping. Other women say that they had to take breaks, you know. So it's a very wide scale. So what I did was I was like, oh, Nexplanon, that's fine. Seen ads for it all over the place. After doing a lot of research, I mainly was only coming across positive things about the Nexplanon. There was the original form of the Nexplanon was called the Implanon, and it's way older and it had way more issues, but the Nexplanon didn't really seem to have any issues. I wasn't really finding any. There was just some people that say it just didn't work for them. Some people were just saying that they just had a really heavy period. And I was kind of like, okay, you know, there's nothing really bad about this that I can really find. So I got it in. I will say the procedure, it was fine. Like, honestly, the most painful part was when she had injected the numbing. The needle itself didn't hurt. It was the actual numbing medication that went in that burned. But it was all manageable. Like, I wasn't like, no, stop, you know. But I will say, just, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it is about laying down, but it happened when I got it out, too. I got really lightheaded. My blood pressure dropped very, very low again. It dropped very, very low. And I had to lay down and drink water, and they had to fan me for a little bit, and then I was fine. But and I usually don't have that issue because I go through a lot of medical stuff. Like, I've had a spinal tap. The first time I had a spinal tap, they missed. The second time they sedated me a little bit, which I'll be talking about my experiences with that. But I've had several IVs. I've had an IV that blew in the crease of my arm. So nurses, because of the medication that it was giving me, it was dangerous to have in my body, and it was solidifying in the corner. So 4 nurses had to give me 5 injections at once. One nurse was double fisting it. So I don't necessarily have a problem with medical stuff. I've been in and out of hospitals all my life. I've had several injuries, I'm a medical mystery, as you'll find out. But once I got my Nexplanon, I was so hopeful. I was like, this is great. You know, like, I'll be fine. I will say my first day I did have to call off work just because I felt a little bit nauseous and sick, and I was really sore, as you should be, because you got a thing inserted into your arm. But after a day, it was just a little bit sore, and I couldn't really lean on it, just like right now. And I mean, honestly, you can see the bruising, but it didn't get much worse than that. I got a little yellowish purple, but nothing I couldn't handle. Like a little ibuprofen or a little Tylenol knocked it out, you know. So overall, I don't think that part was bad, but it was just my body. I will say everything in the first, like, I would say 3 months was fine. And keep in mind, I had it in for almost 6. It was like in 3 weeks, it'll be 6 months that I had it in, which is the cutoff date that they try to get you to keep it in with. But after about like 3 to 4 months is when I started having my issues. It started with, I just got my period again. Now, I was told that I would get a period and I could have spotting, and it would be on and off. It would be very irregular at the beginning in the 6 months, just because your body's adjusting. And when I got it in, I was just kind of like, okay, that's fine. You know, nothing I can't handle. And because the reason why I got on birth control was because after the very first time that I got my period, I was like, I think I was 14 or 15. I don't know. It was my very first time I got it, super light. And then after that, it was so heavy, like to where like I would go pale because I was losing so much. Like, it was HMB, which is heavy menstrual bleeding. In case you don't know, it's bleeding that lasts longer than 7 days or is more than 6 tablespoons per like period. So, because with periods, you don't bleed a lot. You're not really supposed to bleed a lot. Even if you're heavy, it's not going to bleed that much, but I was bleeding a lot. So they're like, yeah, you need birth control. Going back to the 3 to 4 months after I got it in, I started bleeding. And I have that period app Clue that helps me track everything, you know, cramps, headaches, moods, cravings, all that stuff. Just to kind of see any type of stuff that's going on, any patterns, all that jazz, you know. Really helpful, especially when you go to the doctor and they're like, when was your last period? How long did it last? Did you have this? Did you have that? It's all kind of in one place. I've always used it even before I actually went to the doctor for my periods. Because originally my pediatrician was the one who had actually prescribed me my birth control because I was young at the time, so I didn't need to necessarily go to the gynecologist, the OBGYN, just because I was not sexually active. So there was no point really, especially since she was just like, you know, you're bleeding a lot, you're young, try this. Like, I was an open and closed book for that. So that she was just like, do this. But anyways, so I had the heavy bleeding and it would last for several days. And essentially I started getting cramps really bad, and it was like I was taking Pamprin, but the cramps were so bad that nothing was working, but Pamprin took the edge off. So I could work, because at that time I was actually working at CVS, which if you have never worked at a CVS, you're on your feet the whole day. And I was working anywhere between 3-hour shifts to 12-hour shifts. But yeah, so I was taking Pamprin to take the edge off of everything. And while it was helping me kind of cope with it, it wasn't getting rid of it. And I would bleed for a couple weeks. It would stop for a couple days. And then that's when it started. After I initially bled with the really bad symptoms where the cramps were making me sick and everything for a couple weeks, it stopped for 3 days. And then it started, and I've been on my period ever since. I've been on my period for over 2 months straight now. The only time that it stopped was the day that I got my Nexplanon out. Is when I got my Nexplanon out, and I didn't bleed that day. I woke up that morning, no blood, nothing. And then I got my Nexplanon out yesterday. So the next day, which was yesterday, I woke up having cramps, and I said to my mom, I was like, it's happening. I was like, it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. She goes, oh, don't think about it. I was like, you don't understand. And she goes, well, you know, I'm sure you'll be fine. Went to the bathroom maybe like 30 minutes after, and I'm bleeding, back on my period. And, you know, I kind of expected it. Hi, I'm back. I hope you enjoy you can tell the time that it's taking to edit because it's dark out. So, real quick again, even though it's a day after, I'm still bleeding, but it is very, very light. It's to where, like, I'm not even really doing anything to a tampon. So that's good. I don't know why this is happening. I could end up bleeding more later. I could end up bleeding tomorrow. I don't know, or it could completely stop. I'm not sure. But just thought that I should give a little tiny update on that. But what I'm doing is I'm going to be getting the IUD. I'm going to be getting the Kyleena, not the Mirena. Marina, however you pronounce it. So it's the non-copper one. It's the more updated one, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think the Mirena has been a lot around more than the Kyleena has. But the Kyleena lasts 5 years. The Mirena lasts 6, I believe. But I have to wait until this period stops hopefully it stops soon, because then in about 3 to 4 weeks, they said I should restart a cycle. And then the first day of that cycle, I have to call them so that they can get me in within the first 5 days to get the IUD in. I'll say this about getting the Nexplanon out. Emotionally, I feel a lot better. When I got my Nexplanon in, I didn't really notice it at first, but I began to have a lot of issues with depression. Now, I already had depression and anxiety before I got my Nexplanon in, but when I got my Nexplanon in, it just made it so much worse. And I kept on having I'm on Lexapro, and I kept on having it get upped and upped and upped because my anxiety for the most part went away, but the depression was just really bad. And I noticed that I started getting migraines more. I gained a little bit of weight. Not something that was alarming, like when I got on the Trinessa, my very first birth control, and I gained over 30 pounds. I think it was about like 10 pounds that I gained. So not like alarming, but enough to where it was like, okay, you know, something's there. Extreme boob soreness. Now, me, I'm 18, and I have had big boobs all my life. Especially when I was overweight, I had H's. I'm not overweight anymore, but I still have, well, it depends on the day. If I wear a bra for a full day, they'll swell really bad. And no, I've always been worried about like breast cancer and stuff like that, but I've been checked a bunch. I'm always checking myself, and there's nothing that we have found. But they have just swelled so bad. I'm actually in the process of talking to plastic surgeons because I am working on getting a breast reduction, just because growing up, ever since I was 13, when I think it was 13 or 14, is when I got on the birth control. So I've been an H ever since then. So for several years, I've had very large boobs, and it has just made my back worse. Of course, like the bra straps digging in, you know, the typical stuff. So having them be sore hasn't been unusual, but it just made it so much worse, and they would swell so much more easily. Like I said, if I wore a bra for a full day, couldn't wear a bra for 2 days straight because it would be too painful, and like they would just become red, and it was just it was awful. Another thing I had was working at FedEx. Essentially my job was to scan boxes that would come down like a little chute. It's kind of like, so you have normal conveyor belts at the top that the boxes go on, kind of like that, but then there's cutouts in the building that the FedEx trucks go up to the doors. They're open. Essentially the whole facility has open doors. They never really shut. Unless there's no trailer there, then there's an actual door you can do it, but you just have a bunch of trailers that are backed up to those windows, and there's a chute that comes down that you connect it to, depending on the truck, but I'm just going to use this so that it's easier to understand. Most of the newer trucks have rollers, so kind of similar to how like at airports they have the tables where you would roll stuff across if like you're putting your belongings in bins to get checked at security. Like similar to that, they have those in the trucks, and boxes will come down a chute, and it'll go down the rollers, and you just place them in the bottom, and then you stack them, essentially doing Tetris with a bunch of boxes. But you have to scan them and do all that, make sure it's in the right truck. It's technically, there wasn't a lot of things to remember and a lot of things to do, but it was a very labor-intensive job, and I lasted 3 months there. I had to quit because not only my physical health started declining, my mental health started declining, and also I was having a lot of harassment issues, which I'll talk about in another video. But with FedEx, you're picking up boxes, and sometimes the way you would have to hold boxes, it would press on my Nexplanon. And when my Nexplanon would get pressed, even if it wasn't at FedEx, if I laid on it or something hit it wrong, like my arm would go numb, which not normal. If that happens, please contact your doctor, please. But towards the end of working at FedEx, it was actually the last 2 days that I worked there. I quit 2 or 3 days later because my health was not okay. But partially I believe it was because of my Nexplanon, but that's besides the point. But I ended up bumping it, and I honestly thought that I broke it. Like, it's very rare, so don't think that if you have an arm pain and it's in that area, or you bumped it and it hurts, that you broke it or bent it. It's not common, but it can happen, so please be careful. But I thought that I broke it because I hit it wrong, and I just had so much pain, and my arm would go numb. And my manager at the time, he was very helpful. Sometimes they would have to scale people, which is when they send people home if there's too many people there. If like the amount of boxes we're getting is not enough for the amount of people. So I told my boss basically agreed that if he had to scale someone that he would do me because I didn't want to just leave. So he did that, but I ended up calling my doctor. They ended up getting me in a couple days later. And she said that there wasn't really anything that she could see that was wrong with it. Fast forward a couple days, I quit my job. I tried to work on my mental health, worked on school because I am a college student. I double major in psychology and human services. So that was helpful in the sense that I had time to work on stuff that I needed to and kind of shift my focus more academically and kind of fix my mental and physical health while I had time to. I currently have a job interview, my second interview for this place actually, next week. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. But I think getting out my Nexplanon was probably the best decision I could have done. I will say, yesterday I was very emotional. Everything made me cry. That was fun. I just started crying about the most random stuff, and it was very interesting, and my family had no idea how to deal with it. My mom and my boyfriend just kind of like, are you okay? Like, are you good? But yeah, but I knew that I was going to be emotional on and off, and today has been the day where I woke up with a huge migraine. Like, I haven't had a migraine this bad in a long time, but I woke up with a huge migraine. But I still did a bunch of schoolwork because I'm me and I don't care. So I did that, and then I I took a bath, I ate some food, and I've been drinking water all day. I've been taking pain meds, I've been using heating pads, all that, but of course I'm still having really bad cramping symptoms right now. But mainly I've been getting these nausea flashes. It's been really not fun at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be fine after a few days. I knew that there was gonna be some side effects after I got it out, but I will say I do feel so much better now that I don't have it. It was definitely, it's a learning experience. Now, this video isn't to say, don't get the Nexplanon, it sucks, don't do this, because it has worked for a lot of people. It just happens that I'm not one of those people. But funny enough, now that I have it out and everything, I'm seeing so much more negative stuff about it. I said to my mom, I was like, why didn't I see these when I went to get it in the first place? She goes, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know either. But I would say, if you get the Nexplanon, talk to your doctor if you feel something's wrong, because I was told many times by my doctor originally that nothing was wrong after I was telling her, oh, there's this and this, and she was like, oh, well, maybe it's this and this, you know. But after a little bit, I'm like, seriously, like, this is happening. I don't feel right. Like, I need this out. And we got it out. You know your body the best. If you don't know that already, you should. But you know your body the best. Even if it's not the 6-month mark, it is your right to get it out if you want it out. If you decide after a week, hey, not for me, don't want it, you can get it out. I would say give it more than a week. Me, I gave it about 5.5 months. But yeah, you know, you can always try it. If it doesn't work, that's not your fault. Sometimes our body just doesn't respond to things. And my doctor actually said that she thinks that I'm going to have a very good, outlook with getting the IUD, because she said a lot of the time, people who have problems with all the other forms of birth control, when they get the IUD, they have no problems. So I'm hoping that means that I should be fine. But yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. If you have any more questions or want any more specific things, let me know down below. I'm going to try to be posting more frequently on here. I'm going to try to pre-record and pre-edit a bunch of videos and then kind of just have them upload on a schedule. Yeah. I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you guys decide to stick around. I would really appreciate it if you subscribed, hit that like button down below. Because I'm really going to try to kickstart this channel, because it's something that I wanted to do since I was maybe, 11, 12. I just never have. But yeah, I'm really gonna start trying, and I'm gonna work my schedule into this, and I hope you guys stick around for more. Bye guys.